All right, let's jump right in. We're going to break down a really landmark deal today. And look, this isn't just about one company's stock price. We're talking about a plan to rebuild a critical piece of America's entire industrial and, frankly, its defense backbone. This is a big one.
Hey, you don't have to take my word for it. That's a direct quote from Jim Litinsky, the founder and CEO of MP Materials. I mean, think about that. When a CEO calls a deal truly transformational, not just for his company, but for the entire country, well, the stakes are incredibly high.
So that really gets us to the heart of this whole explainer, right? What actually happens when the Department of Defense essentially picks a winner, when it anoints a national champion to go out and fix a massive strategic problem? Let's dig into it.
Okay, so to really get the solution, we have to understand the problem first. And it's a problem that's been like a quiet ticking clock, right at the very heart of our most advanced technology for years. Sometimes it really is that simple. For decades, the United States has had this single point of failure in a supply chain that is absolutely essential to both our economy and our national security. And the mission here is to finally eliminate it.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about rare earth elements. Now, the name's a little misleading. They aren't actually all that rare in the ground, but they are incredibly difficult and messy to mine and refine. And here's the crucial part. For decades, the global supply chain for these elements has been almost entirely dominated by a single country, China. That concentration, that is the strategic vulnerability we're talking about.
And listen, this isn't some abstract problem that doesn't affect you. These elements are the absolute secret sauce in the technology that defines our modern world. I'm talking about the EV in your driveway, the wind turbines generating power, the smartphone in your pocket, all the way up to the drones and advanced missile systems that are the future of our defense. They all need these materials.
So, with a problem this big, you can't just throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what sticks. You need a focused solution. And that's where MP Materials comes in, a company that's positioning itself not just as a business, but as a strategic national asset. And their mission statement, it really says it all. This isn't just about digging rocks out of the ground. This is about onshoring an entire industry, from the dirt all the way to the final high-tech magnet that goes into a fighter jet. So here's their playbook. It's a 3-step process, and it's all designed for total control. First, they mine the raw ore at their facility out in Mountain Pass, California. Second, they refine that ore into crucial separated oxides, like neodymium praseodymium, or just NdPr for short. And finally, the last step, they manufacture the end product, these super powerful high-performance magnets, owning every single step. That's the key to breaking that foreign dependence. Now, what's really interesting here is that this isn't a company that was just starting from scratch. Look at this. Even before this massive government deal, MP Materials was already ramping up production fast. They more than doubled their output of that critical NdPr oxide in just a year. So they were already proving they knew how to get it done. Okay, so we've set the stage. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of this so-called transformative partnership. It's really built on 3 incredibly powerful pillars that completely change the economics of this entire industry. Pillar number 1 is pretty straightforward, capital. We're talking about a direct $400 million strategic investment from the Department of Defense. This isn't some free grant, it's an investment that deeply aligns the government's interests right alongside the company's success. Pillar 2 is maybe the most important part of this whole thing, a price floor. The DoD is guaranteeing MP Materials a minimum price of $110 per kilogram for its ND prior. This is brilliant because it totally de-risks the business. It shields the company from the wild price swings and potential market manipulation from overseas, and it gives them the certainty they need to make these huge long-term investments. And Pillar 3 is all about demand. The big goal is to build up the capacity to make 10,000 metric tons of these magnets every year, right here in the US. And to get it all started, the DoD has committed to being the first and biggest customer. They're going to buy 100% of the output from a massive new factory. That means you have a guaranteed buyer from day one. And get this, it's not just the government stepping up. In a huge vote of confidence from the private sector, Apple has also signed on as a key customer. They've committed over $500 million to a long-term deal to buy these US-made magnets. That's a massive validation. So how are people on Wall Street looking at all this? Well, the bull case is pretty obvious, right? These partnerships with the DoD and Apple basically validate the entire mission and create this super stable financial foundation with a ton of room to grow. But the bear case, it points to the risks. Being so dependent on government contracts can be politically tricky, and let's be honest, it's always a huge operational challenge to ramp up production for giants like the DoD and Apple. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture, because this deal, it's about so much more than just one company or one specific material. You could be looking at a whole new model for America's industrial strategy going forward. You see, the really crucial point is that this deal creates a completely new financial reality for the company. With these contracts locked in, MP Materials is projecting an annual EBITDA, that's a key measure of profitability, of over $650 million. And these aren't just pie-in-the-sky numbers. They're cash flows backed by the U.S. government for at least a decade. I mean, that kind of long-term visibility, it's a total game changer.
And this chart just tells that story visually. Before this deal, sure, there was growth, but there was also a lot of uncertainty. Now, with the DoD and Apple deals basically creating a safety net, that growth trajectory is locked in, and it's pointed sharply upward. It gives them the runway they need to really compete on a global scale. And that really leaves us with this one big final thought. Is this whole public-private partnership, with its huge investment, price guarantees, and shared upside, is this just a one-off solution for a very specific problem? Or is it a repeatable blueprint for how America can start rebuilding other critical supply chains, one strategic industry at a time?